Good morning and welcome to Guerilla Sports Daily, brought to you by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payment. Go to trustedamerican.com to see how much money they can save you today. Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Good morning. Welcome to the show. I got to say, folks, I was thinking about this morning as I was getting ready. Cold morning, dark gray, kind of nasty. The traffic was terrible, but I was just excited. I was just happy to be here. It's first day back in the studio for Guerilla Sports Daily. I think in a month. I think it's been 1 month since I've sat in this seat for Guerilla Sports Daily. Last week, I think I was traveling. The week before that, no. Last week I had my Tuesday thrown into a crazy tizzy first thing in the morning, so I had to do it from home. Week before that, I was traveling. I was on an airplane during this time slot. And the week before that, I was in a hotel room doing this show. So I think it's been a month since I've sat here. So I'm just happy to be here, folks. We got plenty of stuff to get into today. I've been lucky. The last few shows I've done, local teams here in Colorado have given us plenty to talk about. So we'll get into all that. Time Magazine named their Athlete of the Year. We're going to talk about all of it, folks. We're going to talk about all of it. We got Jay and Ruben back there behind the glass today. We just got a whole team. Oh my gosh, the camera's working again. I didn't know the camera was back up. It has been, wow, it's been a while. That made me feel like a kid again to see the camera back there working. Let's talk about everything. Today is Tuesday, December 10th. We got a packed schedule for you guys today here at Guerilla Sports. Just a couple of shows, but then we will be bringing you guys all of the action here tonight. Avs, Penguins in Pittsburgh. Megan Angley and I will be here breaking everything down for you guys at the intermissions and at postgame. Looking forward to it. We've had a ton of fun. This has actually been the first extended road trip for the Colorado Avalanche that Guerilla Sports has not been on. It's been very weird. I've been uncomfortable at times, but this was all actually part of the plan. This was something that we had planned on doing last year, was having our in-studio shows for intermission and for post games. So it's been a ton of fun. The response has been outstanding. You guys have showed up every single night to the live chats, to watching the shows, all of that. So Megan and I have had a blast doing it. And we're happy to be back doing it again tonight. And massive changes for the Colorado Avalanche yesterday. You better believe we're going to get into all of that. But we're going to start with their roommates down at Ball Arena first. The Denver Nuggets. Who, Jay, do you know who this team is? Can you figure out what's going on with these guys? Jay can't either. The Denver Nuggets, it's getting to a concerning level. 2 games ago, they lose to the Washington Wizards, a team that going into that game was 2-18, a league worst. I believe Jay just the previous week had made the joke of like, are the Washington Wizards even really an NBA team? Or are they just a G League team masquerading around the NBA? And then a week later, they knock off the Denver Nuggets in what was, based on the response on Liv Moods and Brandon Cristal's post-game show, one of the more embarrassing losses that the Denver Nuggets have taken in quite a while. And again, it wasn't just that they lost. It wasn't just that they lost to the Washington Wizards, right? These are pro sports. These are pro athletes. Anything can happen on any given night. It was the way it all went down. It was the way that the effort just wasn't there. And we've heard Michael Malone have to get after this team too many times this season about the effort, about the fact that they aren't playing to the standard that has been set. Now, they're in the middle of a nice little break here. They don't play again until Friday, so they're going to get a few days off to clear their heads. And they even bounce back with a nice blowout win over the Atlanta Hawks just a couple days later. So, okay, you bounce back, which is good. But it's actually kind of leading to what I think the overall problem is with this Denver Nuggets team of who are they? Jamal Murray, this has been a disaster of a year for him. It's really kind of been a disaster of a 6 months for him. Terrible showing in the playoffs. Clearly was playing through an injury. They get to the offseason after Jamal Murray's physical absence, and then felt like an absence even when he was playing, led to an early playoff exit for the Nuggets. After that, when everyone thought he'd be taking the time off the summer to rest, recover, get back to the level that everyone has come to expect from Jamal Murray, he goes and plays in the Olympics for Team Canada. And, at first, I really was in the camp of it's the Olympics. Look, I cover hockey on a day-to-day basis, and I've talked to those athletes, and there's a lot of athletes from a lot of countries in hockey who say, yes, I want to win a Stanley Cup. It's something I've dreamed about since I was a little kid. But I think I maybe want an Olympic gold medal even more, because you truly get to represent the best of the best that your country has to offer. You get to represent your flag. There's a lot of people that say, again, a lot of athletes that I've talked to that say the Olympics are maybe something they would take more pride in later in their career, later in their life, that they'd really love a gold medal, especially Jamal Murray being from a country like Canada that felt like they had a chance this past year in the Olympics. A little bit of an underdog nation, felt like for the first time they could possibly go head to head with the big, bad U.S. basketball team. Partially because of the play of Jamal Murray. That was a big part of the reason for optimism for Team Canada. Well, Jamal Murray went and showed up in the Olympics, and it was basically more of the same for what Denver Nuggets fans had seen in the playoffs. The concern was that after signing a max contract, everything that we had seen both in the playoffs, the Nuggets last year, and then in the Olympics this summer, was going to carry over, and right now it has. I think there's been maybe one game, maybe two, that you've really looked at and said, boom, that was a Jamal Murray game right there. He struggled. It hasn't been good. The potentially even more alarming part of all of this, folks, is the numbers that are starting to emerge for your Jokic minutes versus your non-Jokic minutes. Let me run you just through 4 different stats here with and without Jokic. The Denver Nuggets, when we say who are they, this is what we're talking about. The overall offensive rank. There's a rating number that is assigned to offense in the NBA. Their offensive rating rank with Nikola Jokic on the floor, first in the NBA. Without, 30th of 32. Overall net rating, this is both sides of the ball, overall net rating with Jokic, first in the NBA. Without, 29th. Field goal percentage with Jokic on the floor, first in the NBA. Without Jokic, 30th. 3-point percentage. And keep in mind, this is team-wide. 3-point percentage. The Denver Nuggets are the first-ranked team in the NBA when Nikola Jokic is on the floor. When he's on the bench, 28th. That's a problem, folks, because that tells you that with Nikola Jokic on the floor, this is a basketball team that can contend for top seeding, for championships, for conference titles, for division titles. And when he's not, they're not even a playoff team. That is why I say, who are the Denver Nuggets? You cannot, even in basketball, where one player can carry you a long way, one player can take you far. Well, the Denver Nuggets are learning so far this season is he can't do everything, though. And he's going to have to sit at some point, and you have to be able to survive those minutes. And on the rare occasion Nikola Jokic has an off night, scored 104 points in the last 2 games, including 56 points in the loss to the Washington Wizards. On the off chance that Nikola Jokic has an off night, what are you going to do? The Nuggets right now sitting in 7th place in the Western Conference, so still in a playoff spot, but they've got a lot of work to do. And unfortunately for the Nuggets, unlike their roommates Colorado Avalanche, the Nuggets are basically back to full health. Jamal Murray's back, Aaron Gordon's back, Christian Brown is healthy, Russell Westbrook is good to go. There are very few reasons why the Denver Nuggets should be looking the way that they are, outside of the fact that it just hasn't been good enough. We'll be keeping an eye on the Nuggets this week as they get a few days off here. See if they can't rest, recover, get their minds right, and get back going on a streak here. They need to string together a few wins. Let's shift outside. Denver Broncos coming off a bye week, so not a bunch of crazy news to talk about with the Nuggets. See, it's been too long since I've been in here. Not a bunch of crazy news to talk about with the Broncos. Massive week coming up for the Denver Broncos. I would maybe even argue this is the next 4 weeks are going to be the most important, the most critical month for the Denver Broncos, probably since the Super Bowl, probably since the run to Super Bowl 50, which was almost 10 years ago. This is probably the biggest 4 weeks for the Denver Broncos organization since then. We're going to find out a lot about this team. Right now, sitting in a wild card spot, decently comfortable. But they need some help. They are going to need some help from teams around them, and they're going to have to do themselves some favors as well. 4 games left for the Broncos. They've got to go at least 2-4. If they go 2-4 and get some help, they're going to have a good shot of getting in. If they can win 3 or obviously win out, they're going to do themselves a lot of favors and take some of that pressure off from other teams needing to do something for them. 2-4. So who do they got? They got the Colts, they got the Chargers, they got the Bengals and the Chiefs in that order between now and the end of the season. Colts are 6-8. It's a team that's been up and down. They've won some fun games this year. They've also lost some games that make you say, are you serious? So Colts are coming into town, the Peyton Manning Bowl, if you will. Denver Broncos, you know that atmosphere is going to be crazy. This is, again, probably the biggest home game since that playoff run on the way to Super Bowl 50 almost 10 years ago. Probably the biggest home game coming up. You know fans are going to be turned out. They're going to be loud. It's going to be quite the environment. We'll see how the Colts can handle that coming in here. So that's who you got first. Then you got the Chargers, division rival, sitting with the exact same record as the Broncos, 8-5. They're looking to get in as well. You see on the graphic here on the screen, Broncos currently sitting in the 7th spot, Chargers sitting in the 8th. That game's going to have some implications for both sides. You're going to get some desperation from both teams. Then after that, you've got the Bengals, who have massively underachieved this year. They won the Simpsons Fun Day football game yesterday to put them at 5-8. This was a preseason Super Bowl favorite in the Bengals, have really struggled, have not been the team that many thought they would be this season. So that's who you got after that. Then you are rounding things out with the Chiefs, who once again continue to look like the team of destiny. I've been saying it since week 2. This just looks like the team that is destined to go win a three-peat. They win on a walk-off doink and in field goal? Are you kidding me? After just a couple weeks ago getting the walk-off field goal block to beat the Denver Broncos, and I actually think they have had a walk-off field goal win since. I need to double check. But again, a doink and in walk-off for the Chiefs, I just don't know. Their point differential, given that they're 12-1, is pretty funny, but you just can't. Like I said, they look like the team of destiny. Everything is breaking their way. Now, you could also make the argument that they're using up all their luck here in the regular season. I don't know, maybe. But they look like they are going to be an incredibly tough out. We're going to learn a lot about this Denver Broncos team and where they're at right now. Where Bo Nix is at right now. And they have overachieved this season. Bo Nix has given you real reasons for optimism. Again, especially the quarterback position for the first time since Peyton Manning was here. Maybe since that same season when Brock Osweiler went on a little bit of a heater and people thought, well, maybe here's our solution after Peyton Manning leaves. This is the first time that I think folks have felt optimistic around the quarterback position since then, based on play, not based on Russell Wilson was good 10 years ago. But how will Bo handle the pressure? How will Bo Nix and this young Broncos team that's learning how to win handle the ramped up intensity that comes with a playoff push? Especially when you're playing against teams like the Chargers, who are also in the playoff picture, like the Chiefs, who are chasing history, like the Bengals, who are going to be looking to play spoiler after such an exciting, promising offseason and start to the year that quickly went off the rails. They want to make sure that they leave their fans and their organization with a good taste in their mouth going into the offseason. How is Bo Nix and this young Broncos team going to handle it? Are they going to rise to the occasion? Is this where you ride the experience of Sean Payton? Is this where his Super Bowl experience and his playoff experience and Sean Payton's experience with high-end quarterbacks like Drew Brees making these pushes late in the year, is that where it pays off? Or does this young Broncos team crumble under the pressure and the expectations of a fan base that is dying to see a playoff drought end? We're going to learn a lot about them. This is a young, hungry team with a lot of reasons to be excited, but they've suddenly found themselves in a position where it is not about optimism. It's not about excitement for the future. This is a what have you done for me lately business. And the Denver Broncos have a chance, a young team that had their line set at 4.5 for win total in the preseason. Can they defy all expectations and rise to the occasion and win games here to get into the playoffs? I think that's plenty of reason, plenty of drama to tune in right there. We'll be keeping an eye on it, but they are back in action all week after a late bye week, late in terms of how many games you've got left. They get a bye week last week. We'll see how they come out of it, see if this young Denver Broncos team behind Bo Nix can rise to the occasion and get into the playoffs. Another team here in Colorado looking to climb back into the playoff picture is the Colorado Avalanche. Talk about preseason favorites and underachieving out of the gate. Of course, injuries have been piled up at the door every time the Avs have opened it to go outside. That has contributed majorly. Still missing 5 regulars out of their lineup tonight in Pittsburgh with Ross Colton now back in the lineup. That at least helps, but you are still missing 5 regulars out of your lineup, and the Avs have climbed back into a wild card spot. They currently sit inside the playoffs, but it's got to be better. And if you dive into some of the analytic numbers and really even just some of the baseline statistical numbers, there is a lot of evidence that says the Colorado Avalanche have played well. Not great, not perfect, but well, and they haven't gotten enough saves to win as many games as they should have. In fact, they're currently sitting, and this is kind of a silly number, they've given up 14 more goals than the analytics say that they really should have. So that tells you that there's been 14 times this year where the Avs have had a goaltender that just hasn't done his job in net. Well, they addressed that yesterday. Chris McFarland, GM for the Avs, makes a big move, sending shockwaves through the NHL by shipping out Alexandar Georgiev and bringing in MacKenzie Blackwood from the San Jose Sharks. Blackwood, considered to be one of the league's top young goaltenders. He's 28, which is young for a goaltender in their development. MacKenzie Blackwood is someone who a lot of folks have really thought was one of the next great elite goaltenders in the league for the last handful of years. So this is by no means a slam dunk set and forget. You've got one of the league's elite in net now. But this is a player with a lot of upside who has played fantastic this season for a San Jose Sharks team that is not good, is built to be a lottery team, is built to be a team that is going to collect another high pick to put next to guys like Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini, some other high-end first-round talent on that roster. MacKenzie Blackwood has been playing lights out for the Sharks. Again, he's been a goaltender that is looked at by a lot of the league's experts as someone who can take that next step and has the potential to be in the conversation with the Connor Hellebucks and the Andre Vasilevskis and the Igor Shesterkins, but he's just never quite done it. he hasn't quite gotten there. He's been a backup. He's been a 1A. He's been a 1B. And when New Jersey tried him as a starter a few years ago after an excellent season, he dealt with injuries and he dealt with a little bit of inconsistent play, and it just never quite worked out. It seems like he's found his game again the last 2 seasons in San Jose. We talked a lot about the Avs needing to bring in a goaltender, but needing to be wary of the cost. And when we talked about MacKenzie Blackwood on our off-ice show here at Guerilla Sports, we mentioned frequently that, yeah, given the upside of this player, given the fact that he's making less money than Alexandar Georgiev is right now, this would probably cost you a lot of assets to acquire. Chris MacFarland finds a way to not only keep the relative cost down, but actually shave salary cap in the process. Alexandar Georgiev, Nikolai Kovalenko, a 2nd and a 6th round pick go to San Jose. Well, MacKenzie Blackwood, Giovanni Smith, and a 5th round pick come back to Colorado. The Avs pick up about $600,000 in cap space in the process. Now, MacKenzie Blackwood's got to show up here in Colorado and now go prove it. He's got to prove that he's worth the cost of acquisition, and he's got to prove that he can take a contending team and backstop them to legitimate results, up to and including a Stanley Cup championship, because that is the expectation here in Colorado. That is the standard they've set, and that's the goal. Anything less than a Stanley Cup is failure, according to the Colorado Avalanche. So how can MacKenzie Blackwood handle that? Give a lot of credit to General Manager Chris MacFarland. It takes a big set of brass ones to turn over your goaltending room before Christmas. Came into this season with Jussi Sanen and Alexandar Georgiev and has turned it into Scott Wedgwood and MacKenzie Blackwood. Like I said, takes a pretty big set. Let's talk about Alexandar Georgiev just real quickly as he moves on to the San Jose Sharks. He was with the Avs for parts of 3 seasons, 2 full seasons, and almost 30 games of this one. And it was up and down, almost from day one. There really isn't much other way to describe Alexandar Georgiev's time in the Mile High City. His first year, the Avs Cup defense season, he was good. Wasn't excellent, wasn't spectacular. He was good. Little bit of a disappointing finish with the Avs losing in 7 to a wild card team, but there was really not a lot of credit or criticism put on Alexandar Georgiev at the time, because you went through the whole Val Nichushkin situation for the first time. You lost a key contributor right in the middle of the series, and a lot of people just chalked it up to the Avs lost their focus, weren't able to really climb back in it. No one really looked at Alexandar Georgiev. The way the season started last year, probably up until right about this time, right about Christmas, a lot of folks, including myself, considered Alexandar Georgiev the MVP of the team. And then the roller coaster started. It was nothing but up and down play for Georgiev. After that, he'd go through stretches of brilliance where he'd look like a top-tier all-star in the NHL, leading the league in wins. And then he'd go through week-plus long stretches where he looked like a backup trying to find his way, starting consecutive games for the first time, and sometimes maybe even worse than that. Ultimately, it all culminated in a playoff appearance last year against the Winnipeg Jets in Game 1, one of what I described as one of the worst starts I had ever seen from an NHL netminder, given the context. Needing a big game to instill some confidence, and it being Game 1 on the road, about as bad as things could have gone. He gave up 8 goals, and a lot of questions were being asked about if the Avs could go back to him. Well, luckily for Alexandar Georgiev, Jussi Sanen, the backup, was sick. So they actually had their 3rd goalie on the bench, and they couldn't go to him. So Alexandar Georgiev had to go back in for Game 2, and he went on an absolute heater, was fantastic for the Avs for the next 4 games of that series, and then 6 games of the next before the Avs eventually lost to the Dallas Stars. But Alexandar Georgiev suddenly went from one of the worst playoff performances I'd ever seen in net to, again, likely being their MVP in the playoffs. So you said, okay, well, how long can you deal with the up and down nature of Alexandar Georgiev's play? We came out at the start of this season, and again, the question mark was, can he get the inconsistency under control? And it basically immediately went to the worst version of it that we had seen. Pulled in the first game of the season and then again in the third game of the season in favor of Justus Annunen, who then also started to struggle. Each goaltender was able to string together a couple decent wins here and there, a couple good performances back-to-back sometimes, but they never found the consistency. You could tell that the confidence had completely waned from the coaching staff. You could tell that the confidence from the players was all but gone, and the frustration levels were doing nothing but rising. The Avs need to make a change in net. Look, I've never had anything but overwhelmingly positive interactions with Alexandar Georgiev. Great guy to talk to in the locker room, smart guy, interesting individual as well. But like I said earlier, talking about the Nuggets, what have you done for me lately? And Alexandar Georgiev was not doing enough to win the confidence of management or really anyone else within the organization, and it was time for them to move on. I think San Jose is a good situation for Alexandar Georgiev. It's a team with little expectations, and Georgiev is trying to prove once again that he belongs in this league. We've seen Alexandar Georgiev play like a top-tier elite goaltender in flashes here in Colorado. But like I mentioned, there's been other times where he looks like a middling backup trying to prove that he can be a starter or even stick at this level. I think a team like San Jose can allow him to reset, regain his focus, and just go out there and stop the puck. There aren't the sky-high expectations that there are here with Colorado. It's going to give him an opportunity to find his game. We wish Alexandar Georgiev nothing but the best, but the excitement level around MacKenzie Blackwood is real. And there's potential here, and there's something to dream on a little bit for the Avalanche. You got MacKenzie Blackwood, you got Scott Wedgwood in net, and then you got Miles Wood kicking somewhere on the third or fourth line once you get healthy. There's wood all over the place here in Colorado. Gonna fly through a couple more quick ones here, guys, before we jump out for the day. Just some quick notes on the CU Buffs. They are bowl bound. That is not necessarily news to anyone. They'll be playing in the Valero Alamo Bowl on December 28th. But Deion Sanders did say yesterday over a Zoom press conference that Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders will play. Here's the quote from Coach Prime himself. Quote, "We have a plethora of seniors that are pro-bound. And guess what? Every last one of them are going to play. We don't tap out. We don't sit out. It's a blessing to play this wonderful game, and our kids are going to play." So a lot of speculation, a lot of, we were wondering a lot around here. Would Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter play, given that they are almost assuredly going probably in the top 10, if not both in the top 5 in this summer's NFL draft? Sounds like they will both play. CU is 2.5-point favorites over BYU for the Alamo Bowl. And this week, we should find out, get some clarity on Travis Hunter's Heisman campaign. Rounding out today with something I mentioned off the top, Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year, Caitlin Clark. Just to put a cherry on top of her year. You guys know, you guys followed along this show. Caitlin Clark was fantastic all season. It seemed like every single day. She was never in the plans to talk about every day. It wasn't like, oh, okay, we got to make sure we're hitting on, a Caitlin Clark topic today. She just forced her way into the conversation what felt like 5 days a week. And now here she is again in the throes of the WNBA offseason, making headlines again. Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year. 40 games, averaged just over 19 points per game last year. 41% from the field, 34% from three. Just fantastic. Broke all kinds of records. Too many for me to list in this one show. Was also almost solely responsible for shattering WNBA attendance and viewership records in a lot of instances. But again, rising tide raises all boats. The overall ripple effect that Caitlin Clark had on attendance, viewership, salaries, everything in the WNBA, and put a lot of attention on some pretty great athletes in the WNBA. She brought a lot of eyeballs there, and then the league did a good job in keeping eyeballs on the sport. It was something that we talked about before the season started for the WNBA, was Are they going to be able to get out of their own way? It's something that a lot of pro leagues struggle with. We talk about it with the NHL constantly. Can't get out of their own way. Will the WNBA be able to get out of their own way and take the free out? Are they going to take the bunt and just throw it to first and take the out? And they did a good job with it. Not perfect. There's criticism sure to go around. I'm not going to be the one to get into that, at least not on today's show. Caitlin Clark, again, doing massive things for the women's game and the WNBA. That's going to do it for today, you guys. We got a jam-packed day. I got a jam-packed schedule. We're heading up to Loveland right after this for a meeting. And then we will be back down this afternoon to talk Abs, Penguins tonight, 5 o'clock here in Denver. Megan Angley and I will be hosting first and second intermission reports, as well as a post-game show. So make sure you're tuning in for all that right here on Guerilla Sports. And then we'll be back. We got a full week. I believe we've got off court today. No, Thursday. I'm sorry. We got more episodes of Off Court talking Nuggets coming this week. We got several Broncos episodes coming your way this week, plus some additional content with Off Field. And then we'll have Dumb Jock with Nate Jackson back on Thursday after missing last week with the holidays. So a lot of fun stuff to do this week. Busy day around here today. Looking forward to all of it. I'm Jesse Montaño, Jay behind the glass. Make sure you guys can see us and hear us. There he is. What a good-looking individual. I'm Jesse Montaño. It's Guerilla Sports Daily. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll talk to you later.